Well, that was something. I am equal parts sickened and completely impressed. Coming Home in the Dark is a new to Netflix movie that I believe was a New Zealand production, and it's based on a short story of the same name. It centers around a family who set off to a very remote location to have a nice family-friendly picnic in the afternoon and are very quickly approached by a pair of, well, let's just call them villains, because that's what they are. Shit hits the fan fairly quickly, and the family finds themselves on this horrific joyride with these two bastards headed somewhere. The less you know going in, the better the movie will be for you. I put the word better in quotation marks because honestly, this will be a brutally hard movie for lots of people to watch. I almost turned it off at a certain point, thinking I just didn't want to see any more purely evil acts that one human being can do to another. But I soldiered on for one very specific reason. The movie is incredibly well made. Captivating is the best word to use to describe it, and it is exactly that right from the very first shot. The camera is placed in these abnormal positions, the editing is concise, the views are stunning, and the sound editing, it's something to behold. There's something about the way you hear like every single thing in any given scene, and while it should seem overwhelming, it's not. It just makes the whole experience that much more immersive. It's at the forefront of every scene and it's just impressive. Like you notice it, but not in a way that's distracting that takes you out of the experience. And all of that, the editing, the sound, the beautiful cinematography, is all on display and very evident in the opening scene, and that's how they grab you. And then when things turn down a very dark corner in the movie, everything adjusts accordingly. You go from these beautiful wide shots of, I'm assuming, the New Zealand countryside to these very close claustrophobic scenes that just fill you with this sense of dread and confinement and despair. Yeah, sounds like a good time at the movies. The camera itself continues to be placed abnormally, but the way that it is placed takes you from curious and engaged to fearful and engaged. The director also has an especially impressive talent at building tension and dragging it out in a way that makes you feel uneasy, uncomfortable, and almost sick to your stomach. But not because of anything overly graphic. Yes, there's violence, but it's not gore. I've seen plenty of movies that have upset my stomach or put me on edge because it's just so over the line of gory violence. That's not what's happening here. This is dread and fear, and it's real. It captures pure villainous intent and action in a way that absolutely infuriates you, yet keeps you intrigued. The story, while fairly predictable, was still interesting as we were going along and following these characters, and all the while trying to figure out why what is happening is happening. There's a lot of chance and chaos in the world, and this movie captures all of that very well, albeit on a very small, intimate scale. Now, all that praise being said, there is a point in this movie where it does start to feel like things begin to drag just a bit. And it's pretty much right around when the second act ends. At that point, everything is out in the open, and for me, it felt like a lot of the wind had come out of the sails. Now, it still manages to stick the landing at the end, but that last like 20 minutes of the movie felt a little bit overcooked and unnecessary. There's a whole scene where this like collection of new characters is very quickly introduced, and it really just ended up feeling like it was just another way to solidify the absolutely damaged persona of one of the other characters. Regardless of that, I will give Coming Home in the Dark a 9.5 out of 10. It is an impressive bit of filmmaking that uses superb production quality to engage the audience and tell a story that is not at all easy to watch. With something like this, you really have to be on your game if you don't just want me to call your movie an evil piece of garbage. And I was surprised, but it kept me interested. It's an incredibly dark and completely vile story that will absolutely upset, turn off, and horrify lots of people, but the stellar talent behind the camera can't be ignored. So what about you guys? Have you had a chance to check out Coming Home in the Dark? Hopefully I didn't put you off of it too much. It's just one of those kind of movies that comes along every once in a while You know? If you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. The director especially has a talent for fucking you up. It's kind of true.